the unending search for wholeness. Flow versus structure versus love. Regardless, you are enough. I don't know about you, but in my experience, life is a constant inner battle. I always want to do the right thing the right way. I am always trying to be the right type of person, the right type of girl or woman, whatever. The problem is that no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, I never get it right. Because in my mind, being the right thing often resembles a soldier. Therefore, doing the right thing is about rigid rules and guidelines. My inner conflict begins here, with my mind telling me to go cold and sterile, while my heart tells me I am a fluffy, pink, cotton candy looking thing. My tendency leans toward the soldier. But beyond my personal tendencies, I felt inspired to write about this because my line of work and my experience in life so far have helped me realize almost everyone I meet, in a way or another, feels the way I feel. Never enough, never getting it right. When you live with those thoughts in your head, you are destined to live in constant conflict with yourself. Caught having to choose between what you want to do and what you have to do, between what you know is right for you versus what your mind thinks is right in general. And sometimes the knowing of the heart isn't aligned with the knowing of the mind. Yet we have been trained to follow the mind and not the heart. Big mistake. Because even though at times the knowing of the heart might not lead us straight to the thing we want, if we keep at it, we will eventually arrive at what it promised. Adventure, excitement, love, life. This insight came through a book I am reading called Lord Valentine's Castle by Robert Silverberg. The book was first published in 1980 and tells the story of a man who woke up as a wandering 30-something nobody just to discover he is actually somebody, a dethroned king who had his memories wiped. As he starts to remember who he is, he embarks on a journey to return to his throne and his former self. As he travels to the place where he believes he can have his memories and his throne restored, our protagonist finds himself in dangerous situations where his choices not only put him in mortal danger, but also risk the lives of his companions. Because of this, he begins to lose hope and second-guess his choices. But as we read on, we realize that every one of his choices, even the grown ones, allows him to meet people that later on will become pivotal to his pursuit. Every misfortune not only turns out to be the thing that leads him to where he has to go, but also teaches him something about who he is. His time on the road is turning out to be better training than the formal training he received before he lost his memory. Now, I know this is a fantasy book, but the beauty of books is that sometimes they tell us about ourselves. Lord Valentine's story is the journey we'll travel when we are trying to decide if we are brave enough to be what we were born to be, or if we are going to settle for what we were told we have to be. His story shows us how sometimes following our intuition might look like the wrong thing to do because it takes us to odd places or leads us into unwanted situations. But if we allow ourselves to be taken there, if we allow ourselves to trust that the intuitive hunch was the right thing to do and that the unwanted situation has its purpose, then we will find out we were right to follow the hunch because we needed to be right here, right now. We needed to go through this experience. Trusting the hunch is hard because we are caught between flowing and the need for a structure, between the right brain's need for adventure and creativity and the left brain's need to recognize, organize, understand, and define everything. We struggle within because we were led to believe that grounded knowledge is better, more useful than feeling. And so because we want to belong, to be loved, we forfeit what we know in favor of what others think. It's easy to forfeit our knowing because grounded thinking is measurable and predictable. It can be touched and seen, it can be put to use. Have you ever stopped to wonder where our inclination to ground the thoughts and give them a structure came from? Who sparked in Newton the need to understand what today we call gravity? Or in Marie Curie the need to study what today we call radioactivity? Let me tell you, it was their soul. It came from informed knowing. In the Oppenheimer movie, we saw how this Oppenheimer guy had these dreams, these visions that nobody else understood. That was his soul talking to him. And yet we often miss this link between the genius of the mind, thanks to the guidance of the spirit. Look, I'm not trying to defend the spiritual knowing over mind processes. Grounded knowledge is as important as inner knowing. Thinking is as important as feeling. But we haven't reconciled them, and that's why we are suffering. That's why we're struggling. That's why it feels like we can never get it right. Because we are divided, disconnected from the inside. We polarize the sides of who we are, not knowing we are both sides. We are the mind and we are the spirit. We are the soul and the creativity. We are the brush and the painter and the painting. We are everything. We have always been essence, but we forgot. That's the nature of this reality. Anyway, let's come back to the mind and the thinking. I think we tend to gravitate toward the structure because it feels comfortable and safe. I think we avoid the flow because it disconnects us from what we think we know to throw us into who we are. I think we cling to structure because we fear who we are. Because if we were to remember, we will have to take accountability for our lives and our reality, and that's far worse a fate than living confined to the structure and rigidity of the mind. Or so we think. Perhaps we are afraid of the lightness of being because we are accustomed to heaviness, to effort, to forcing things into existence, and so the ease of being feels threatening. Perhaps we are afraid that if we live in flow, we will dissociate from the mind and the body, losing our grounding. And maybe that will happen. Maybe that's why the separation between flow and structure exists, so that in those moments of perceived separation, we can ground what we know, so that we can concentrate on creating something solid, so that we can share ourselves with others, so that we can observe ourselves during the creation process. I am not only referring to physical creation. Here we must also include the creation of living and being. What I am speaking of also touches on the creation of our relationships, our love, our understanding of the masculine and the feminine, on our need to be more, to be better. But we are already better. We are already whole. You don't need a man or a woman or another person to be whole. You don't need to do more or to do better. You are already better. You are already more. You are enough. Our grief ends when we understand this. Whether you are creating a business, a home, a relationship, a family, or an identity, don't choose flow over structure or structure over flow. Do not privilege the masculine over the feminine or intuition versus thinking. Instead, accept them all, welcome them, recognize that you contain everything, learn to know them and work with them, find peace in your extremes. Only then will you bring them together. If you do this, you will stop fighting with yourself. And maybe, just maybe one day the feeling of not being enough will dissolve. Maybe, just maybe you will realize you were never incomplete and being you was never wrong, no matter what your mom said. You are enough right now. You have always been enough, just the way you are.